Manchester United fans, before I would even say anything, let's first start this on a good note. This is another massive win in the bag, and we have just moved to the third position in the table. Remember, this is a team that whenever they get that opportunity to move upwards in the table, they always look for ways to disappoint us. But now this is no longer the case. This is now 6 wins in the last 7 games under Michael Carrick. 19 points out of a possible 21. That is not a small run, that is not luck, that is momentum. And now, we are tightening our grip on that Champions League spot for next season. The table is starting to reflect the work being done on the pitch. Yes, I know some people will say this win wasn't convincing. Some will say it only happened because Palace got a red card. But let's not forget something very important. This same Manchester United side lost to Everton even when Everton had a red card. In fact, Everton even scored against us with 10 men at Old Trafford. A red card does not automatically guarantee you 3 points. Progress is progress, and when you see it, you acknowledge it. We have to be honest enough to admit when things are moving forward in the positive direction. Now, even though I praise the coach and the players, I still speak about what needs to improve. I've always said this team is not the finished product yet, we are still a work in progress. There is still so much to build. We need recruitment, we need a left back, we need wingers, very dangerous wingers, we need midfielders. Those gaps are clear. And yet, despite all of that, we are still finding ways to win games. We are still unbeaten in 2026, that is massive progress. There was a time not long ago when we couldn't even win back-to-back matches, and now we are doing it consistently. That shift in mentality matters. This league has become more difficult, especially at this stage of the season. We are approaching the end, and every game now feels heavier. There are no easy fixtures anymore. Every opponent is fighting for something. To win games at this stage, you sometimes have to win them by any means possible, and that is exactly what we are doing. But now, I have to dive deeper into the game itself. There are many things I wasn't impressed with, and there are also important details about how the match unfolded that we need to talk about. So stay with me as I break it all down. Please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get straight into it. It was a very terrible start from us. And the frustrating part is that it didn't just happen today, it happened against Everton in the last game as well. After such a long rest, you expect sharpness, intensity, control. Instead, we came out slow again, flat again. And now it's starting to look like a pattern. Today wasn't just a poor start, it was worse than that. On the ball, we were sloppy, careless. Giving possession away far too easily. Simple passes not sticking, first touches not clean, decision-making rushed. Crystal Palace looked more organised than us, more settled than us, more ready than us. And that should never happen at Old Trafford. Nothing was working, the defence couldn't connect with the midfield couldn't link up with the attack. There was no flow, no rhythm, no control. In the first 20 minutes, it was a complete mess. And even after going 1 goal down, it didn't immediately wake us up. Palace were still more comfortable in possession. We looked busy, but not effective. Moving around, but not actually creating anything meaningful. It was chaotic without purpose. Palace were dominating us at Old Trafford while leading the game. Let that sink in. And this is something I always say, we don't press properly. Teams bypass our press too easily. It looks like we're trying, but it's not coordinated, and opponents just play around us. Against Crystal Palace at Old Trafford, everyone expects one thing, a fast start, aggressive pressing, high energy. Putting them under pressure from the first whistle, trying to get that early goal and let the crowd carry you. That's what Old Trafford is for. The fans are there to push you, to create that momentum. You have to use that advantage fully. But we didn't. We allowed them to settle, we allowed them to grow into the game, and we paid the price for it. But that slow start was only one part of the problem. There were so many things we didn't get right today. In the first half especially, Crystal Palace matched every single threat we tried to bring. From the wide areas, from crosses, even through the middle. They had an answer for everything. And a big reason for that was how we began the game. When you don't start well, you give the opponent confidence, and once they settle, it becomes much harder to break them down. On top of that, we don't have natural wingers who can consistently stretch teams and create that unpredictability from wide areas. If you watched closely, you could see we were trying to play quick, sharp football through the middle to open up their defense. Fast combinations, quick passes, trying to penetrate centrally. But out wide, there was almost nothing. No real stretching of their backline. No one isolating a fullback and forcing them into uncomfortable situations. I said before the game that this Crystal Palace side would be difficult to beat, and we saw it today. They matched our threats almost perfectly. Every time we tried something, they had numbers there. They were compact. They were disciplined. The only real area where we consistently looked dangerous in the first half was from set pieces, free kicks and corners. That tells its own story. Ahmad wasn't in the starting lineup today, and I'm not saying he would have completely transformed the game. But what was missing was a stretching Palace both wide and centrally at the same time, not focusing on one zone at a time. With a proper winger, you can drag defenders out wide, create gaps in the half spaces, and then exploit those central areas. That balance is crucial. Today, when we attacked wide, everything was concentrated there, and when we went central, everything was crowded there. It made Palace's job far too easy. They just shifted across, stayed compact, and dealt with us comfortably. Then we came out in the second half with real intensity. Proper intensity. The difference was clear immediately. The tempo was higher, the movement was sharper, the urgency was there. And it didn't take long before you could start seeing those tired legs from Palace. Remember they just played on Thursday in the Conference League, and I talked about how we can use that during the pre-match video. The second half was better. We pushed them back, we forced them to defend deeper, and eventually we even won a penalty. Those tired legs and fatigue will force openings. But they don't just show by themselves, you have to force them to show. You have to stretch the opponent, you have to move the ball with confidence, you have to attack them again and again until the gaps start appearing. You have to make them suffer. And when you do that at Old Trafford, when you combine that pressure with the fans behind you, it becomes overwhelming for the opposition. That's when they start making mistakes. That's when their concentration drops. But if you don't stretch them, if you keep giving away simple passes, if you allow them to grow into the game comfortably, then you are actually helping them conserve energy. You are helping them stay organized. And you won't expose those tired legs early enough to create real chances. Once we raised the intensity, the game changed. Spaces began to open up. Palace couldn't stay as compact as they were in the first half. The distances between their lines increased. And that's when a striker like Sesko becomes more dangerous. Around the 65th minute, he got his goal from a beautiful cross by Bruno Fernandes. And honestly, that moment felt inevitable. Because by then, Palace were more open. They couldn't close down the spaces as quickly. The delivery came in, and Sesko did what a striker is supposed to do, he finished it in style with a beautiful header. Now let's give credits where it is deserved. Bruno Fernandes is currently the best player at Manchester United. And at this point, it's not even a debate. When the game gets difficult, when nothing is flowing, when the team looks stuck, he is the one who can change everything with a single moment. One pass. One vision. One decision. That's all it takes. He has done so much for this team, especially in the hard moments. When others hide, he keeps demanding the ball. When confidence drops, he keeps trying things. That mentality alone sets him apart. You saw it again, one quality delivery, one moment of composure, and the entire direction of the game shifts. That's what top players do. They don't need 5 chances to make an impact. They just need one opening. And Bruno always looks for that opening. We simply cannot let him go. A player like that is rare. A player who produces when it matters most, who takes responsibility, who carries creativity on his shoulders. You don't replace that easily.